Okay, I just took a regular fuselage tube and I made the top of it 4.5 inches and the bottom of it 5.5, and it's 6 inches tall. And then I just rounded the front of it and sealed it off inside and out with hot glue. As you can see, it looks fairly good, and I don't think it's going to leak, so that should do well. And then I just made a ridge out of basically a wedge of foam, and I glued it on the bottom of the fuselage. And then I took another piece of foam and I bent it over that and glued it on the edges, and then I just trimmed it off with a razor blade and ran tape over the sides. And then I capped off the end and hot glued that in nice and tight. And then what I did for the back part is I just did the same thing, and I just made it a little smaller, glued that in, and so that is a pretty good step. And then I took at the back of the fuselage, I just did Ed's technique of tapering the fuselage, and then I taped that and glued it all together. And then, as you can see, I made my battery hatch, and I basically made a little lip in there with another small piece of foam just to seal it in, just in case the water does splash up there. So basically I made a tape hinge and used Velcro to attach the lid. And then I also used barbecue skewers inside the fuselage to add some rigidity. I hot glued those in there just crosswise from corner to corner. And then you can see where I started putting it all together with the tail and then the wing attachments. Here I cut a slot about 8 inches from the tip of the wing to put the motor mounts in. And basically I just made square fuselage tubes, small ones, for the motor mount, and then cut it off at an angle. Glued those both in there, made sure they were good and straight, and then I mounted the motors on there and ran the wires through, but I extended the wires from the motor instead of from the ESC. And here you can see how I mounted the motor on, and I basically just hot glued around the motor mount to make sure it was good and sealed. And then you can see here where I kind of just show where I put it together. I'm getting ready to put them together. Basically, I just cut a little square notch on the bottom of the wing so the wires would have a hole to come out of, and then that's how I made that work. And then I mounted the servos and sealed that up with duct tape and just clear packing tape. And there's still a little hole, but I flipped my other plane upside down and it didn't really get that much water in it because it's foam. And then I just kind of guessed on how the pontoon, the wing pontoon, should be, and this is the pieces that I cut out to make that. And here's the finished pontoon. They're not very big, but I think that they'll work fine because the plane is going to float just great. It's just you know, it won't take on water or anything. So anyways, and here's another view of that. And then when I mounted them on the wing, as you can see with the next picture coming up, is I made sure that they were good and level and straight with the leading edge of the wing. And once I got that done, then I put a barbecue skewer just on one side and hot glued that in just for side to side strength. And here's the finished wing. And you can see I put that all together, and I didn't. That's the bottom of it. I didn't worry about making the tape go in the middle because that's where all the wires are going to come through. And here it is finished. And by the way, guys, I took all of the paper off of this foam before I made it, before I started construction, and then I taped one side of it with heavy-duty packing tape. So, and here's the finished plane, and this next view is just a view looking down the bottom of the fuselage. You can kind of see how it looks a little bit like a boat. And that part of the plane will not bring on water because it's, you know, it's not really open to the cavities.